Hey everyone, I got a great interview for you today. I have a friend, Michael Jordan, with me. And the reason I wanted to get Michael on this interview series is because I think he's doing the right thing as turnkey providers in that he's creating a large organization, as you will see in the story. But more importantly, he's focused on one city. And that's what I think, people need to realize when they're looking at turnkey providers, which a lot of my friends are, is you need to find somebody who is entrenched on the ground, invested, not only in doing the right things, but also the education, making sure everybody is, learning and going forward. So it's a pleasure to introduce Michael. How you doing today, Michael?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate it. And, I always look forward to speaking to like-minded professionals and speaking about real estate and building wealth. I mean, that's a very fun thing for me to do. And I love to pass on any information that I've learned. So this is always exciting for me.
Well, let's just dive in. Why don't you introduce yourself, kind of what you do, where you're at, right? We haven't really hit on that yet. And, what the company provides, and we'll sort of dig into that after.
Sure, sure. So we're in the Detroit market, so Metro Detroit market in southeast Michigan. What we do is we buy homes um, through a multi-prong approach. I mean, we buy homes every which way that have value in it in them, and then we bring them back to life and renovate them, make them aesthetically pleasing, and make sure that they are stable in stable and dependable neighborhoods. And we make sure that they're structurally safe for people to live in. So we get and spend that. Then we place tenants in them. We make sure that the tenants are qualified tenants, that they're going to be on the front end. We do our due diligence, so we're putting someone that can afford the rent in the property. And then we send it over to our property management department. And we've been doing this to the tune of thousands of deals over the years.
Yeah, and some of the things that you said there that I just want to peel back. One is you have you have divided focus, right? Which is good because you have a set of people that are out, hitting the streets looking for value, right? Just call it deals or purchases or whatever you want. Then you have the part of the organization that does the work. Okay, you got the asset, now let's they need wiring or flooring or roofs or whatever they need, and then you pass it over to the property management team to qualify a tenant, stick a tenant in, and manage it going forward. So why I bring that up is some people aren't willing to make that investment, and they ask different players to, hey, 10 hours a week do this and 12 hours a week do that. And that's not what you do. And I think it's important for people to hear how big your organization is. I think we talked pre-call, it's 40 people that are kind of in the organization. And then obviously you 1099 or you have contractors who do what they do outside of that. So it's quite impressive. So talk about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, we built up quite a big organization where we produce, 25 plus homes a month that we complete. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little bit more. It depends on the month and what city you're dealing with and whatnot. But we've created an operation that's like a machine. And like you talked about, Michael, it's pretty, I would say, when you really break it down, not to get off my company, but it's pretty simple. You're acquiring in the right area.
Yep.
You are renovating properly by having the right contractors, writing the right scope of work, making sure you know what kind of finishes you have in the property. You're placing the proper tenant in the property by screening the tenant, making sure that they could afford the rent, and then you're property managing them. And the tenant is your client. You really got to take care of that tenant. A lot of people forget about that. So, our whole organization, is based on, all the different phases of real estate, really, because we deal with private lending in the middle and lending and all that good stuff. And what we did was we broke up each section that I just talked about into a separate company.
Mm-hmm.
And, we created separate companies for each division, which we've been trying to perfect, and we're always going to perfect, and always going to learn more and more and more on how to make them better. And, so we have a purchasing department. Our purchasing department is called Sell Us Homes. So what we do is we market out there through, various avenues, whether it be yellow letters, online marketing, realtors, wholesalers, brokers, every which way possible to locate deals and assess them, underwrite them, and say, does this make sense for us to buy? And then what happens is, if it does, then we're going out there and we're looking at the property, and we're doing an inspection to make sure that it meets our needs. I'll just use an example with the purchasing part of things. We bought a property a couple weeks ago off of an auction, and really in an auction for a new investor, I wouldn't recommend that because there's too many gray areas, and I could actually teach you guys that, and I could show you how we do it, because you have to have assumptions in there for renovations and whatnot.
Yeah.
But we bought the property, and I own right now in that area right around 10 units. Right, it's like in the same complex. Okay, they're actually condominiums.
Okay.
And what we did was, when we went in there, we took a look at the unit, and we had a figure of X amount of dollars for renovation. We went in there and we found out all we got to do is renovate the bathroom, paint, change the light fixtures, do some minor cleanup items, and the property's in phenomenal shape. And the average rent in the area is $1,000, and there's such a high demand that once you put it up for rent, I mean, you have a line of people. But the point of that is, Sellis Homes, bought that property from a different method, which is off of an auction.
Right.
And this is, our business is to know every which way to buy properties, and we utilize so many different ways. And when someone thinks that they got all the methods of buying properties, there's always a new way.
Yeah.
And there really is. Yeah. There's now, you have ringless voicemail, you have mass text messages, you have honestly, my list is so long that when we have our purchasing meetings, I say, hey, what aren't we doing? So we get talking about those things.
That's pretty awesome.
To go back to talking about our company. So our purchasing division, it's the name of it is Sellis Homes, and we go out there and we try to be recognized by all the realtors, the wholesalers, the bird dogs, people in the industry. They know our name. We close quick. We do what we say we're going to do. We do things with integrity, and you get a reputation out there. So if it's between you and another buyer, they know that we close. So that's something that we've done with the purchasing side. On the renovation side, we have a company in-house, which we own as a construction company. It's called Accurate Construction Group. And what we do is we service the properties for our development company, which is called Strategy Properties. So Sellis Homes locates the properties, Strategy Properties buys it, Accurate Construction goes out there, writes a scope of work, ensures that we're, bringing up the property to code and having nice aesthetic finishes. So there's going to be high rental demand or home ownership demand. Homeowners will want to buy the property too. We could do whatever we want with it. Mm-hmm. And then we've broken that company up into a separate group that not only services our company and our property management company, but also services people that calls from outside, and and we don't deal with homeowners. We only deal with investors. But
right.
They'll call us and they'll say, "Hey, we just bought 2 investment properties, and we'd like someone to write a quote for us, and and do the work." And we do that. Then from our construction company, it goes into our property management company, which is called ProWay Property Management, and we locate tenants through multiple sources, putting it on the MLS, using all the Zillows, Trulias, everything online that we all the places we could post it. We have signs that we put up, and that people know the home is for rent on the corners of the street, so sure. They could call us and we let them know that we have various homes in the area for rent. We have multiple independent tenant placement agents that we deal with that are agents that do a lot of leasing, so they have usually a backlog of tenants, and when they know that we have houses for rent, they know what kind of product we provide, so that works out well. So we place a tenant in the property, and then what we do is we property manage it. And one thing in property management, like I mentioned earlier, to remember is that the tenant is your client. The way you deal with the tenant, the respect that you give to the tenant, the way you answer, all our emails and calls are answered within 24 hours. It wasn't like that a year ago in 2 and 3 and 4, but we changed it. We put in systems in place. We put in, different strategies where it triggers us if someone hasn't been called back right away, and we get to their question or concern. Our maintenance guys get out there if there's if the pilot light on the pilot is off on the furnace. So tenants appreciate that, and they reciprocate, and we send out monthly newsletters to them, let them know what's going on. Yeah. Let them know how to build their credit. So we're giving back to them also by helping them be the best that, improve their situation too.
Yeah.
So that's really important. We also do some home ownership courses where if they want to become a homeowner, they might want to go to a course and, learn, how to get a loan and whatnot. So we build that rapport with the tenants. That's very important. Which I feel that a lot of property management companies don't do, and they just expect the tenant to pay, and if you have a repair, don't even call us. Yeah. No, that's not the way that we do things. We want to treat the tenant like, they are a top priority. They are paying the bill. If you think about it, they are paying a monthly rent fee, and that's important. Yeah. But we also do things like we send them a notice on the first of the month that rent's coming up. Just a friendly reminder. Yeah. It's automated. We provide them with payment options where they could pay online or pay through an app or pay through their, directly from their phone. So that's what our property management department does. But I really think it's very important to have a great relationship with the tenants, and we do. Yeah.
There's so much there that you just sort of highlighted. I just want to peel back and really make sure the people listening to this caught it. First and foremost, I do a lot of these interviews and talk to turnkey providers, and most of them spend their time talking about cap rates and cash on cash returns, which really means to me that they're focused on kind of the front end or maybe the middle. And the tenant is like, oh, that's the last step. We'll just stick them in and, wash our hands of it. What I just saw you go through is should be important to investors, because really, if they're busy professionals and they're buying it either cash or a down payment or whatever it is, they want to feel like they got a good deal. I won't, that goes without saying. But to them, the most important thing is the years after that, which means it's about the tenant. And we don't want to hear after 90 days or 6 months, oh, they're gone, or, such and such. And I think more turnkey providers need to talk about that last step like it's the most important, like you did, because again, we're not, we know you're making money when we buy the property. We're not confused. Everybody should make money in this business. So, that goes without saying. But you need to worry about the tenant. And I like how you did that. So nice job.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we do that I want to mention is, there's a couple things. We know that we want to worry about the tenant, but we also want to worry about bringing in money. You have to think about both aspects at the same time.
Sure.
So what we do is we have a lease. We have a really good solid lease that we use that, I share with people all the time. I will say, hey, Mike, can you send us over your lease just for us to take a look at it and see what you highlight? We make it very clear in there what their responsibilities are as far as, lawn maintenance, taking care of the snow, all that good stuff. So there's no confusion. We want zero confusion. We go through that in the lease signing. But we also have an additional document which we have them sign, which is notice of notice of consequences that happen if an eviction occurs. So I forget the name of the document, but I have it on my computer. But it's notice of
Yeah.
potential eviction consequences, I think. And we have that signed with every single lease. And what we do is we tell them, don't hurt your credit.
Right.
Don't hurt your situation and potentially going and renting a home in the future. Don't hurt your overall possibility of getting a credit card or whatever it may
Yeah.
be, because this goes on your credit, and then we send it over to a collection agency. We don't want to do that. We're not in the business to hurt people, no,
Right.
but we are in the business of protecting ourselves. So on the flip side of things, when a lease is coming due, let's say we sign a 24-month lease and it's coming due. 3 months before that, we're talking to the tenant. We're saying, hey, are you looking to stay? Do you want to re-sign your lease to lock in your lease rate? And we're not guys that are big on moving rent rates up. We're just not. I mean, we feel that, $25 to break, to add on to a lease to hurt somebody, or not to hurt someone, but to increase the lease where they might construe it that's hurting their financial situation.
Yeah.
Why not keep the rental rate the same and have the tenant stay in the property for, 5-6 years, whatever it may be? That's a strategy that we use.
You should. I mean, more people, even if you're not using a turnkey provider, I can tell you that after having thousands of tenants, the thing that kills my reports, and I look at it every month, but really every year, right? It's tax time. So I'm looking at it again, and it's the terms, right? I mean, think about it. If you raise the rent $25 because you're the big bad landlord, you've got an extra $300 a year, right? That's 25 times 12. But you know what my average turn cost is after they've spent 2 years there? It's $2,800. Yeah, 25.
Yeah, you and I said at the same time.
Yeah.
My average tenant turn is around $2,500. So
same, right? Different markets. Yeah, it's crazy.
And someone might say, well, they have a security deposit, but guys, we don't want to turn it over.
No,
we don't want a tenant to turn over. We want to keep them in there as long as possible.
Yeah.
And to me, at the end, when we're talking to them, if there's any hemming and hawing or they're not sure, we actually go as far as saying, hey, we could offer you a furniture set or a 40-inch TV or things of that nature. There's nothing wrong with that. And to me, I'd rather invest $400, into the current tenant in there and get them to sign on a 24-month lease. After 4 years, someone's set in their situation, they're comfortable, they're at the home, they know the landlord, they might stay there 10 years.
Exactly.
So the value of that is very powerful versus raising the rent when, it could potentially break a relationship.
Yeah. And again, I just want to reiterate this. I could do this for days, but having a turnkey provider focused on tenants as much as Michael is I'll just call it unique. I haven't heard that a lot. It does happen, but I haven't heard it a lot, and I'm glad he's sharing it. So now let's talk about Detroit, right? Sometimes people outside the area think Detroit. They think, I don't know. I think at one time it was the murder capital of the world, and hey, all the automakers are gone. That's
not anymore. So
exactly. Frankly, it's turned around, right? It's a city within a city. Lots of investment coming on. So give some props to Detroit and highlight what's going on, because I think more people need to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I urge people to watch Dan Gilbert's video that he was pitching to Amazon Q2 HQ2. So that was Houston when he was trying to get the second headquarters for Amazon there. And just that video and hearing Dan Gilbert talk about it, for those of you who don't know, again, Dan Gilbert, he is owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers and Quicken Loans. And he's the most successful businessman in Michigan, one of the most successful in the country, maybe in the world. He's just an unbelievable entrepreneur, very sharp. And he talks about Detroit, and he says, hey, listen, we're top 10 in tech jobs. We brought tons of tech jobs here to Detroit. And you look at Indeed, and they rated Detroit as a top 10 hub for tech jobs. So it's not just all automotive. Sure, automotive is huge here. I mean, you got, the big three that have, their headquarters here. But you also, we feel that we're the mortgage capital of the country. We have Caliber Home Loans, we have Quicken Loans, We have all these banks. We have banks moving downtown. Google just moved their office in Michigan downtown. So did Microsoft. They moved their office, I think, from one of the cities. I'm not sure if it was Ann Arbor or one of the other cities, downtown Detroit. But there's so much going on here. And I say that, seeing is believing. So whenever I bring people down here, I think last week I was I had a gentleman that came into town, a friend of mine, a doctor. His name is Randy, and he came in, and we drove around Southeast Michigan, downtown. He's like, Mike, man, he's like, I can't believe that this is, Michigan and Detroit. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, when people actually come out here and they take a look at things and they look at the quality of the homes, and then they see the jobs that, you go to some places and you're like, where are the jobs? I mean, I've been to some cities and I'm like, wow, okay, great. This is in Florida. It's a very nice city, let's say Cape Coral, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And you go there and you're like, well, where's the jobs here? You're not sure.
Right.
And I know Florida's got the weather and whatnot. Amazing. I love it. But you come to Michigan, there's buildings left and right where people work. There's tons of hospitals. The medical industry out here is huge. And then the banking industry, the automotive industry, the tech jobs. You have the tier 1, 2, and 3 suppliers to automotive. Then you have all these. There's a lot of manufacturing companies. I read an article that Detroit has tons of bicycle manufacturing. I never knew that. So it's pretty cool that when you come out here, you actually go downtown. I usually take people downtown, and you take a look at it, and you're like, this is a mini Chicago. It's becoming a mini Chicago. And then you go into the neighborhoods, and Detroit, just like any other city, has its good and bad. And it's bad, I think, one day is being, turned around. There's developers coming in and, turning those neighborhoods around too. But we concentrate on safe and dependable neighborhoods where, people want to live in close proximity to work. Mm-hmm. And we get the results. I love it. Just like you, Michael, I own hundreds and hundreds of units, and, I look at it like, population's only growing.
Yep.
There's I think, with the right business people here, and I mentioned Dan Gilbert, but Mike Illich, God rest his soul, was another pioneer out here that, was the Little Caesars founder, owns the Red Wings, owns the Tigers. He is a phenomenal businessman too that has added so much to the city. Mike Duggan, the mayor, has, really helped the city turn around. And, when you take a look at this, you're like, okay, there's so much potential for more industry and jobs coming in. And Detroit is 140 square miles large, so you could actually fit Manhattan, Boston, and San Francisco inside the city limits.
Wow.
People ask me, investors say, well, what does that mean to an investor? Well, what that means to an investor is that, there's a lot of room for growth. There's a lot of manufacturing that can come in. There's land and buildings that companies can take over and turn into more jobs for the city in the Southeast Michigan.
Yeah.
Michigan. So, Detroit's exciting to me. I go all around the country to many cities. Detroit has the best numbers. It really does. The best return on investments. And then I always say, you could be in San Francisco or Manhattan if you don't have the right property management and people with your best interests at heart. Right. You're not going to be in good shape. So that's the beauty of what we do. Yeah. We have established this phenomenal property management company, and we became an accidental property manager. We really did. I didn't want to be in the property management business. I tried to outsource that, 5 and 6 and 7 years ago, and said let me just concentrate on development. Yep. But we realized that when you put a core focus on your business and you concentrate on the customer, you use all the assets of technology that we have today, mm-hmm. and ethics and integrity, that you come up with a phenomenal company. And that's what we have come up with. Yeah. And am I telling you that we never have a problem in property management? No, we do. But we understand that, to me, it's the way that you handle the situation which defines you, and that's what we do. So we're so proud of our property management company, and it's become a standalone company that manages thousands of properties, and it's just growing and growing and growing. And we have some great leaders in there that that I don't call them. I don't say they work for me. I say they work with me. They're our partners, and that's how I talk to our group. I mean, so we really have a special group, and I'm very proud of them.
Well, yeah, let's just close on one more topic before we kind of dig into how you all got started that we hit on before we hit the record button. And that is that I see some turnkey providers, you know, they kind of get their legs under them in one market where they live. It seems to always be. But then they go on and go, you know, hey, I hear great things about Alabama or Texas or New Mexico or, you know, wherever. And suddenly they're in 3 or 4 markets. My experience says, and again, I have no skin in the game, so I can say my opinion, right, is that just breeds risk, complacency, extra cost. I mean, how can you be in all these cities and equally good? You just can't, unless you're going to go, you know, sort of mirror the organization. And that's just like having 2 different companies and the cost structure, and it just doesn't breed success. I like the fact that you're like, nope, this is my backyard. This is where I am, and I'm happy.
So, you know, that's a great topic that you brought up there. We've tried it in Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, and Alabama. Yeah. And I'm not scared to say that we weren't successful.
Well, that's awesome that you admit that, right? It's, you know, you kind of get why you do it, right? Because you kind of like have the systems and process, and sticks and bricks or houses are the same and tenants are the same. You're like, oh, let's just go and let's amplify what we're doing. And then you get on the ground, you're like, wow, this, you know, it is new. You know, there's a little difference. And oh, by the way, there are people like you that's their backyard, and you're coming in and competing with them. And, you know, to do that, you know, remotely is frankly arrogant and foolish many times. So I really like the fact that you sort of retrenched. You're like, nope, I'm the Detroit guy, right? This is my backyard. I'm going to be the best one here. That's
Michael. Well, I'll tell you, you know, to speak to that, you know, we've tried, you know, like I said, Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, Alabama. And, you know, we found that concentrating on your own backyard, there's opportunities in every city. Real estate is local. Mm-hmm. You know, and when I say there's things that go on that other people don't know about, and strategies that you can use, and, you know, ways to buy. And when we stretched ourselves out to other cities and try to work with property management companies and renovation contractors and expect the same results that we have with our policies, processes, and procedures, it didn't work out. Yeah. And to me, I felt like, you know, it was, we spent a lot of time, but I don't feel that it was a wasted effort. And the reason why I say that is because I learned from it. I gained so much knowledge from not being successful in that realm of the business by saying, wow, okay, I can go out there and, you know, create multiple offices throughout the country, this and that. I learned that, you know, master a certain area and conquer, you know, what you're best at, and then keep improving on it. Yeah. And let me tell you, and where we're at right now, it's about ceilings. We hit the ceiling, then we go up to the next ceiling. We hit the ceiling, we'll go up to the next ceiling. So to me, even with what we're doing now, we're always going to improve. So, you know, especially in the turnkey business or the flipping business, it's really hard to do it remotely. Yeah. I can see it being done in wholesaling, but not in the turnkey or flipping business. So I admittedly say that, you know, it was a great experience, and we weren't successful at it. And we actually, you know, we've concentrated more and more and more on our city and what we do. And I'm not saying not to buy somewhere else, Michael.
No. Neither of us are saying that. No, we're not saying don't buy other places. I'm just, my suggestion for folks is when you're looking at turnkey providers, and I'm not saying any are good or bad, right? That's not what you've ever seen me say on this channel. It's, I suggest looking with a turnkey provider that's where they live, right? That's their backyard. That's where they are. That's where their teams are, because they can drive properties, look at stuff. You just never know what's going on in the city.
I would buy from other turnkey providers. Sure. I would buy from them, you know, so, you know, that to me, I've learned, that's one thing I learned. I would hear people talking about different markets. I say, great, you know, I'd love to pick up a couple properties in this market. Yeah. And, you know, diversification is phenomenal. So I would do that in the future. That's what I would do.
Absolutely. Well, let's step back. One thing I want to make sure we get to is it's always fun for people to look at people that are wildly successful like you, team of 40, hundreds of millions of dollars in total transactions and all of that. But how did you start, right? Do you remember that first deal or two, or why you bought that first one? Because lots of people look at guys like us who have hundreds of units are like, can't do it, not us. But it all starts with one, right? It's just one rental at a time. So, do you remember how you started?
Yeah. I mean, my backstory is that, I started in construction, and, I started literally with no money, not even a dollar, $10, nothing. I had to borrow, my first, 1,500 to get started. And I started in construction, built that business up, and, saved some money from there. And, I was really jumped into it right away. I've always worked for myself. And I just, I learned the foundation of doing what you say you're going to do, and using integrity and respect with everything you do. And people, they get to meet you, and they know you, and they feel comfortable with you. So my business started with dealing with property managers, and providing services to apartment communities, condominium communities. And I got going with that. I was a salesman and the owner of the company, and I built up some cash flow. And that's why I always like when people have real estate, they're building real estate up on the side, and eventually they could move into it, because you have to have a source of income to get started in real estate. Yep. Or you can borrow money. There's ways to do it. You can borrow money from friends, family, to get started. That's fine too. But I started it, with really with boots on the ground approach of starting a business, saving up money. I started building homes. I built about 20 homes before the crash. I was left with 2. I was lucky to be doing about 3 to 4 or 5 new construction homes a year. And I wasn't using the banks because I had saved a lot of money up. So I was able to, put those $150,000 into a new construction home, sell it for 190 or 200,000, whatever it may be. I was left with 2 homes. So I became an accidental landlord. So when I became an accidental landlord, I had 2 new construction homes, which are the easiest homes to rent out.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Have 0 vacancy in those, really. Then I had 1, 2, 3 homes on double and triple lots.
Okay.
So I was left with 5 homes when the market turned. Okay. Yep. And I became an accidental landlord. And I was collecting money. I said, this is not that bad. I'm like, this is not that bad. And the thing about it is, I did everything wrong. I really believe in the beginning, we would put the home up for rent on Craigslist.
Yeah.
And someone would come there, whoever wants to rent it, first guy that wants to rent it, we're signing them up. We didn't know how to do any, checks. We didn't know how to, see where they work. And I say were because I had one of my a gentleman that worked for my company at the time. I said, hey, you're going to become a property manager here.
Yeah. You're the leasing agent all of a sudden. Congratulations.
Yeah, exactly. But, it worked out for us. We were very lucky and blessed that we did get the right people. I mean, and we didn't have much turnover at all. So it worked out really well. And I said, wow. I said, so this is how much I knew at the time. I knew I was really good at meeting people, really good at, going out there and knocking on doors, finding all the companies that I could do construction for. But then one night I was sitting in my room. I think it was 2008, right around that time frame. Maybe 2007 or 2009. I'm really not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But it was right around that time. And I even owned homes. So this is to show you that people are way ahead of me right now, and they could achieve whatever they want. I really believe it. So I was sitting in my room and I said, okay, if I get $850 to $900 rent and I have 10 homes a month, wow, okay, that's $8,500 to $9,000 a month times 12.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's over $100,000 a year. And honestly, I was like, wow, what if I get to 100? And this is, and you know what, Michael? The funny part is this is without me even knowing about financing. And,
Yeah,
of course, I know you could get a loan on a home, but I was figuring all cash. I was like,
right.
how do I do this all cash?
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm thinking like, wow, if I got up to 100, that's 100 times 900 a month. That's 90,000. That's over a million. So
yeah.
I was excited. And I remember actually the first agent that I contacted was this REO agent when the market was down.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I just put a bunch of offers in, and the lady was like, yeah, these 5 got accepted. I didn't even know what to do. I was scared. So, so, you know, I, like it's so funny that you go from that extreme.
Yeah.
And, I was actually looking for the paper on my computer one day because I save everything because I was typing it up on my laptop. I was looking at it, I said I want to find it and I want to frame it and look at
Yeah.
it because that just goes to show from literally 2008 or 9, right around then, to
Yeah.
10 years later,
Yeah. That's
the
awesome.
immense jump that a person could make. But I made it because of passion, desire, using integrous approaches, building relationships, working. Some people say, oh, I want to work less. Well, you can't work less in the beginning. In the
Yeah.
beginning, you got to work your butt off to make it.
Yeah.
Then you could get on, easy street and, have your schedule the way you want it. That's how I have it now. And I really concentrate on, high level development of our company, networking, being a visionary, looking at opportunities
Yep.
and marketing. So, but I look at that story of that is how I got started. And
Yeah.
I got started with, being an accidental landlord. And then, after that little, stint where I was like, look, made those offers on the property, I went out there and I surrounded myself with someone that knew what they were doing. I said, hey, I want to start putting offers on properties, and I got a crew that's going to go look at them
Yeah.
right when they get accepted, and I'm going to, write up the scope of work and know how much it's going to cost. And it developed over time. I
Sure.
found the holes in the business over time and sought out answers to those holes. But if I knew what I knew right now, if I had the ability to call you and talk to you about, hey, Michael, how do I do this or that, or call myself and say, hey, can I come to one of the boot camps or seminars that you're holding, on real estate investing, I would be way ahead because
Oh,
the
yeah.
pitfalls that I made, it costed, no doubt about it, no exaggeration, 7 digits. But I
Yeah.
learned from it.
Yeah.
So I look at it like I got like a Harvard
Yeah.
degree in hard knocks,
Yeah. Yeah.
of losing money or leaving money on the table that I could have made.
Yeah.
And that's really how I got started.
That's pretty awesome. And again, a couple of nuggets there that I just want to make sure people hear. Um, clearly Michael has done some amazing things over the last decade. But he got started, right? And that's why I really spend most of the time, I think I mentioned it earlier, trying to get people thinking about 4. Because an amazing thing happens when you go from 0 to 1 and then 1 to 4 is A, you realize it's not that hard. And B, you really figure out if this game's for you, right? If you only get 4, your financial future is different, right?
Yeah.
And that's cool. But most people that get to 4 are like, shoot, I want 10 now, right? And then life gets really good. But again, let's just talking about going from 0 to 1 and then 1 to 4. And, we're going to help so many people doing that. So I'm curious,
Yeah.
Michael, where are you taking this big thing, right? You're already wildly successful, dominating Detroit.
Thank
You're going
you.
to stay
I appreciate
focused in
it.
Detroit. Think 3 to 5 years out. What does that look like for you? Because Detroit's on the way up. It's going to be different, right? So what are you doing in 3 to 5 years, you think?
Well, my biggest plans in 3 to 5 years, because like I said, it's all about hitting ceilings. And I love people that maximize themselves and move their ceiling up, because we could always get better and move ourselves up and learn from people. So one of the things that I've been doing is I've been doing, building up a wealth education company called Unique Wealth Education. And it's about building, diversifying, and protecting wealth. And what we're doing is, the reason why we called it unique, because we met as a group, as an office, and we said, why is it unique? Why are we different than anyone else out there? And it's because we are going to literally hold someone's hands through whether they're doing wholesaling, fix and flip, turnkey, if they want to become a property management company. And we're going to really not talk at a high level. We're going to talk at a high level, but we're really going to dig in and we're going to do it with them. So let's say someone wants to do a flip. We're going to go through the entire process with them to avoid pitfalls that they may have had or that they can have, because I've had a lot of pitfalls.
Mm-hmm.
If I had someone do that with me, I feel like I said, I would have saved so much money. I would have been ahead of where I'm at right now, because even in the last 1 year, I learned something that I believe would have saved me 6+ digits a year.
Yeah.
In the last year. But in the last 2 months, I've learned a ton too that I'm plugging into my business. So I guess to answer your question very clearly is getting more into the education, because we feel that we have all the parts here, where if someone came and spent a week with us and they spent 1 week and we literally showed them everything we do. We showed them how to do it, how to, the paperwork we use, why we do and don't do something. And then we followed up with them, and it was kind of like, you come here and you're with us, but then you're following the entire process with us. We're answering questions for you. We are, we're virtually doing it together, in a virtual manner, even online. So that's where, I want to take the business, because I feel that, you name a situation in the business, buying notes, selling notes, creating notes, buying rental properties with tenants in there, buying vacant properties, buying properties with foundation issues, fixing and flipping to homeowners, high end, middle class. We've done it. We've done it. So that's where we're going in 3 to 5 years, and I'm so excited that I really, really, really believe that this is going to be completely different than anything out there, because we're going to be digging in. And I really haven't been around that where, I get some information on something like, hey, it's great to send out yellow letters.
Right.
But no one digs in with me on where do you buy the data? Right. What kind of postcards should you use? Where do the phone calls come in? What's the best approach when you go to someone's house? So when we have to learn it ourselves and spend so much money on trial and error, where now we have practices that work well for us, and we always improve on. Someone might come in and say, hey, Mike, this color is better than that color. I love to hear why, and we'll look into it. Yeah. But we're going into more of being doing what we're doing now. We're never going to leave that.
Yeah, right.
We're just building on top of our businesses, where people could come in here and see how each division of our company, which is a separate company, has been successful. And and one of the big things is we've created a lot of ancillary businesses. Yeah. So I believe that ancillary businesses are huge. In what we do hard money lending. It's very easy. So if someone has money, they may be able to do it in their market, and there's certain strategies to use to protect yourself, and to underwrite the deal and protect yourself, that we can show someone that can do that in their market.
That's very cool.
That's where we're going.
That's awesome. That's going to be fun to watch as you go forward. Because again, you're the total funnel, right? All the way from attracting lead sources and finding deals and evaluating and fixing and all that stuff. So totally get
apartments. We love apartments too. We've been getting into apartments for a while, and look, real estate is real estate. If you can find a house, you can find an apartment, and that's where education, knowledge comes in, and you do whatever you want to do.
Absolutely right. So, Mike, I always close with giving the guests an opportunity to share how people can get a hold of you, because hopefully, some people watching this are investors. That's usually what's on my channel, and maybe they were intrigued by what you offer in Detroit. So, how would you like them to get a hold of you? Go ahead. Yeah,
best way to get a hold of me is my email address, RATEGYIG.com. And I answer emails unless it goes into my call it our junk, and then I go and I won't any questions sincerely. Like, I love when people, sometimes they'll private message obligation to give them back. I feel that I've been blessed with, having a path that's taken me to this point, which I'm comfortable with in life, and my family's comfortable. So I feel that it's always, reach one, teach one. I think that's a huge thing. If you can teach someone, what you've learned and what they, what they're looking for, it's a big thing.
That's awesome. Just one more time, because I want to make sure people hear it. How do they get a hold of you? What's your email address? One more time.
Mike at strategyig.com. That's MIKE at strategy, STRATEGYIG.com. And that's a great way to get a hold of me, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Mike, this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you giving me your time. I love everything we talked about. I really admire what you're doing there in Detroit. Keep it up.
Michael, thank you very much for having me on your show. I really appreciate that. Hopefully we have a follow-up segment. I would love that. And I'd love to continue to talk about different topics, anything that you or your audience wants to ask me, or maybe a deep dive into something. I'm here. I love it. I can't. This is not work to me. This is fun. So.
Totally agree, Michael. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.